Hello, everyone. You're listening to Northern Flights, a Park Pro podcast keeping you up to date with the people, tournaments, and culture of disc golf in Canada and beyond. Consider becoming a Patreon today at patreon.com/parkpro. Find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by DiscGolfPark. And now your hosts, Andre, Jesse, and Matt.
Dude. All right. This is it.
Wait.
No, Matt, we got a replacement. It's Ben.
The new
Hey.
Hey.
And we're running this one kind of interesting. We're looking at the camera because it is where our recording point is. But no call today, so it's going to be a little bit of a couch discussion, which is the first one we've kind of had forever. I don't think we've had something like this yet on the podcast. Yeah. So we'll
expanding 2 couches now.
2 couches, and they're both the same. This one doesn't get used as much, so it's nice and it's got that firmness to it. So
it's not
budget increases. We're flying all the guests in now.
Yeah, exactly.
Got Max in from the Pro Tour.
Ben from Cranbrook.
Yeah. British Columbia.
Yeah.
Just down the street, really.
Yeah, it ain't that far. But yeah, we're going to have a great episode. We're going to talk about a little bit about Canadian disc golf. We got chess.com coming up. And then we're going to get to know Ben a little bit. So why don't we just start off with big news out of Oregon. Sophia takes down an A tier.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Pretty awesome. And not just that, but it was a full sweep on the leaderboard there. So Canadians.
Yeah, I just took a look, and it was a big victory for Sophia. Shot 9 down. The second place was Irina that we saw at Nationals coverage. She was +1, and then Christy Lee rounded it out at 10 over. So 19 strokes separating first and third, and a Canadian podium sweep.
Right.
Yeah.
It's awesome to see, and like specifically on Sophia, she's kind of been down there playing quite a bit and like playing pretty well, finishing. She's much been down there with Jen Allen, and
Maricopa,
yeah. So because they've had a few tournaments together and getting to know her in Udisc a little bit, so
they're getting close.
Yeah, I think so.
Sweet.
Averaging well above the rating. 963, 983, 967.
Wow.
922 rated player.
I think she's gonna pop off because I think she's gonna be on. She's gonna hit a bunch of tournaments on the tour. Hopefully, she can make a little bit of a showing down there as well. So,
my first reaction when I heard that she had won, it was a Canadian sweep, was sick. That's got to be good for Park Pro because you guys have had her on the pod recently.
People are gonna look her
and
up.
She's on. As far as I know, I think the majority of the coverage of her playing is on the Park Pro network.
Yeah,
I was like, this is great. And then I'd heard the profile that you guys had done with her and was aware of like how short. I was shocked. Like because I saw her on coverage at TCO, I think last year.
Yeah.
And was like, wow, she's really got game, was like my first impression. And then when you had her on the pod and she'd said that she had just started playing, that did not check out for me. Like, how could she be that good that quickly? And so now that she's winning, it just means, I think when you see new people come in and you see them escalate, you don't ever have an idea of when that escalation is going to stop. Like, everyone hits a point. For some folks, it's, Gannon Burr, right? And for other folks, it's, much lower. It's just like at our local level where people start getting good. But seeing that she's continuing to knock off those milestones is like pretty exciting.
She just seems like just an athlete all around. Like, what was her background? Rowing?
She's rowing and
a lot of endurance sports, running, biking, rowing. Yeah.
She's one of those types of people that knows how to train.
Yeah.
And if you know how to train, that makes such a huge difference. You can essentially try any sport and you'll seem like a natural to many people. And obviously with disc golf, it's a little bit of a newer sport, and especially on the FPO side, I'd say the level, the time it takes to get a certain level, if you know how to train, is a lot lower than that of other sports. So,
right,
yeah, and she seems like she knows, like you said, how to train because she's also a PhD candidate in chemistry. Like, it's the type of person with the structure and commitment to follow it through. And yeah, I can't see only good things if she keeps it up.
Yeah, really looking forward to seeing how she does. So.
Yeah, looks like she's playing Memorial. Not this weekend, but next weekend. Then U.S. Women's Disc Golf Championships in Texas there. Major. Daniel Bowe Memorial. Not sure where that is, but I think I've heard of the name.
Yeah, I've heard of that
Texas one.
Yep, Texas, right?
Las Vegas Challenge, and then BC Open, which is a ways into the season. So I'm sure she's playing more than that, but she's got some big ones on the schedule already.
But no chess.com.
No chess.com. Any Canadians playing chess.com?
Not sure.
Thomas.
Yeah.
I was thinking on the FPO side, but
Yes.
It's weird.
Yeah,
You can't go to Udisc Live anymore to see all the
When
good
is the turn? Like
That stuff is out already. I saw a screenshot of it
is it on
it's PDJ Live,
PGA Live?
and it'll have those scoring metrics. It's not as in depth as Udisc yet, but they do have like scramble percentage and things like that up there.
Powered by
But so like,
Statmando.
but so the standings or whatever is that?
That's a
Well,
good.
that'd be all Pro Tour,
It's all
right?
going to be Pro
DGPT
Tour.
or-
Or,
Is it-
actually, I'll go
Because they
check.
said it's going to be a beta, a new app, or is it getting incorporated with the PDGA?
My understanding is that it was going to be like the website, to the Disc Golf Pro Tour website, essentially. And so I don't know if they're going to have a separate app for it, but
I would. I don't know.
I don't know. It's I find it very interesting because I mean, just so for some insight on this podcast, when we wanted to find out the Canadians playing in these events, all we had to do was go to Udisc Live
Right.
and look for the little Canadian flag. And
Well, you can still look on the PDGA site, right, and sort by
yes, exactly, and
sort by country.
on the actual PDGA site and not on the
yeah,
PDGA Live.
right, and then you can sort by country.
So
Or you can
Thomas
also just
Gilbert-
like Control F and write Canada.
yeah. Thomas Gilbert is the only
For
Canadian on
technically inclined
MPO
people.
and no one in FPO. So
Okay.
Do we know what tournament Chantel's playing? That's a bit of an aside already, but I thought she being from Ontario would be kind of closer to that actually.
And a Pro Tour champion.
And
I thought I saw Waco,
was her
but that's just a hunch that I thought I saw her name somewhere. But what would be easiest there?
pulling her up right now.
So I was kind of caught off guard this year coming into the Pro Tour season by how much is changing. And I don't know, I think there was some backlash or, people always have disagreements about what's a good change and a bad change. But I didn't realize how many changes there were going to be this offseason with the scoring, obviously like there's no more Udisc scoring, which I think from what I've heard from players and the few times I've been around like Pro Tour players, I think a lot of people find the whole like we've got a Udisc scorekeeper and a PDGA Live scorekeeper, and then someone else is keeping a paper one and two people are logged in. It's all like been a bit of a cumbersome thing to do. People are happy to have the volunteers and the help, but like it's never been very streamlined. So I think overall it's a good change that I don't think the Pro Tour made just on their own. I think it's probably from a lot of feedback from players. But, so all of it seems like a good idea, but man, it's a lot changing all at once with the streaming host, like going to the AWS from the Vimeo, and then the scoring change. Like those are big technical changes to take on at once.
And it's one thing just doing it on a different platform, but for everybody who like just got used to Udisc, or like because people who follow me, like my family, they're like, oh, how am I gonna keep up with it now? Like I just figured out how to do Udisc.
It's like Google my name.
So I mean, I feel like it'll work out and it'll be just as easy, but
it should be better theoretically.
You would hope so, but I think in the long run, just the streamline, like how you're saying, there's a Udisc and a PDGA Live, that was always weird. And if you just have one volunteer, that's less volunteers you have to get to do the scorekeeping. But I wonder, because now the new PDGA rules is that everybody has to keep a scorecard.
It's another change.
So I would think that because they're going to be all doing PDGA Live then, or is this new? Is it?
Well, in theory, some people can keep a paper scorecard.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm sure you'll have some people who are like, no, I don't carry my phone. They will choose to keep a paper one. But I think most people are going to just say, yeah, I'll keep which will help, I think, for accuracy. I think you'll have less, scoring conflicts because, most of the tournaments that we play, well, not you, but like that Jesse and I play like around local, right? There's 2 people keeping a Udisc live, or not a Udisc live, but a PDGA live score card already, and there's no one keeping Udisc. And then every time you get the conflict, like the way the PDGA app works, even right from the jump, I was shocked, like at the beginning of COVID, like, wow, this works perfectly. It's very easy to use. It's very intuitive. I've never really run into any problems with it, which is shocking for, I don't know, a company as small as PDGA to roll out a new app and have it just work. I don't know.
Yeah.
It surprises me, but.
Yeah, I agree. And like the whole PDGA app, I kind of, running the few tournaments I did last year, it was just like one of those things like, why wouldn't you just do it? Because it's so easy. Most people nowadays have a phone. There's a few holdouts that don't have smartphones.
Totally.
But it just, it makes sense. And like you said, the other thing that's interesting is you only need the data or Wi-Fi to get it started and to finish it. Those are the only 2 times. When you're keeping scores, you don't need it. You don't get the like automatic conflicts and stuff, but
I like the big thing for me is the stats. Like, where is that? And like, obviously for smaller tournaments, they're not used to having stats, but the Pro Tour, we've got accustomed to knowing the putting stats and the on the fairway, off the fairway. And you would hope that they would want to try to improve on that. But at the same time, the only way of doing that is to get better volunteers that are vetted or at least have experience taking stats or knowing stats. Because so often they'll just say, hey, this is Maria. She's never seen disc golf before.
Right.
She's going to do your stats. And it's like, okay.
And I can almost guarantee that's probably not going to change.
No.
It's going to be the exact same.
And I know they're always told, like, be a fly on the wall. Don't be in the players' faces. Like, just try to exist without existing.
Yeah.
But you can only do so well or accurate on stats taking from a distance. So, like, whether or not it's a bullseye or a circle 1 or circle 1, circle 2. And, like, obviously they don't want you just asking the players, oh, was that a circle 2? Or you don't want that interaction. But at the same time,
that part usually isn't the most inaccurate thing from the Udisc scorekeepers. The putting distance, usually there's flags at places, and even for a person on their first day, I think they can kind of sort out, if it's really close, maybe they get it wrong. But if it's really close, it doesn't matter that much, right? But the stat that is the craziest to me is the fairway hit.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. And it's not golf. Right? In golf, it's pretty clear what is and isn't a fairway hit. But in disc golf, it's like...
But then, I thought about this. So like in Udisc, if you had made a mistake earlier in the hole, you had to go back, change that shot. You couldn't just like go, boom, that's done. You had to erase what you've done.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, back.
Because it was shot by shot.
And say it was in, instead, like say they thought it was out of bounds, and then they went through the process of doing out of bounds. Then they're keeping this score all the way to the hole. They don't know what the other guys are scoring, and then they say, oh, I took a 5, and they're like, oh, I got you for a 6. That must not have been no B. They have to go back, erase everything.
Only in the one person's card, though, not in everyone's.
No, yeah. So just that one person, but for sure they're not going to remember, unless they were very meticulous of like, okay, this is what happened. Remember that. Go back, change the out of bounds to inbounds, and then
Well, and I'm curious now too. So if the stats are happening, so like the 4 of us on our card, all 4 of us are now required to keep score. And if the stats are also in the PDGA Live, are we all 4 keeping stats, or is there a separate person? My guess is that the stats are optional in the app. I haven't used it yet. I don't know. I'm curious. It'd be good if one of us had used it, but I'm curious. Is like, are we also keeping our own stats? Is that an option now during every tournament, even more outside the Pro Tour, maybe?
Yeah, because it was always. I mean, not every card was getting a Udisc person, so there was the off chance that you just didn't have a Udisc volunteer. None of the players wanted to do it, which is fair because it's a lot.
Well, and usually those cards that didn't have stats, if you were a fan falling from home, it was people you didn't really care about anyway.
There was a reason why they didn't have a volunteer for
their
that
parents
card.
might have been like, what?
Yeah. But yeah, so if there's going to be that awkwardness again of like, oh, no one wants to do stats. Oh, we don't have a volunteer. Oh, I guess you guys don't have stats. And then somebody probably bucks up and says, I'll do the stats. But yeah, if it's in the same scoring app and it's right there, everybody's doing their own. I don't know. Like, what's the?
Yeah.
Here's the question: do you care about that stuff? If you had to do it yourself, is that something where you're like, I will take this on myself. I won't do your guys, but I will do mine.
I would if it was in my contract to say if I was a top 10 C1X putter, I get a bonus.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm sure that's in people's.
Well, and here's the thing: is if you didn't like Benny and you followed him on to all his tournaments, said, Benny, I'll take all your scores for you, and you didn't like him.
If you knew what my incentives were.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't know, because now there's so often where somebody will be, okay, they see their stats and it's like, that's way off. I'm going to email Udisc and get it all changed. And it's like, that's just up to their, like,
Yeah.
people aren't going to refute it. Like, as long as the score is the same, it's not going to be,
Yeah.
but like, who's checking that?
Yeah.
And like, you just have to trust the player, or in most cases, you're just trusting the spotter.
How many contracts do you think are leveraged that way? Do you have any specific stipulations like that in yours, or is that mostly top end?
Yeah, it's just finishes. But I mean, I'm sure Corey Ellis has, like, if he gets another number one C1X putter,
Right.
I mean, he puts out commemorative discs, but
Right.
I'm sure there's a little bonus for that.
They're looking to sell putters specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guy like Marweed or somebody like that that's not podiuming all the time, but is like phenomenal in his box. Probably has stuff like that. And the thing I was going to say about the stats is that we have enough trouble policing the game in a self-police way where everybody can see it, and then you're putting it in a private space in your hand where no one can look at whatever's happening anyway. I don't think it's... If there's nobody doing your stats for you and verbalizing it to everybody in the group, there's no way that those stats will be meaningful at all.
Yeah. And I mean,
they're for entertainment.
It already kind of is meaningless, because there is so often people that just don't have stats for some round. And it's like, that would skew, I'm sure, your averages or whatever. So it's like, as much as everybody wants to have stats and accurate stats, like, it is just a lot of work. And it's like, it's kind of the same with like that rangefinder guy getting hit. I think it was AB last year, and his disc goes out of bounds. Like, you want more information and more accurate information, but does it mean you're sending 3 volunteers to watch this one card, getting in the way, making things awkward, getting hit, getting a Eagle McMahon grenade to the dome? Like,
the stats ultimately, I think, drive the entertainment value for fans, right? Like, you see it in every sport, and you also see inaccuracy of stats. It's always been a thing in every sport where, like, it's famous in basketball where, like, someone will get an assist. Like, if you're at home, it's like, oh, I'm counting that as a rebound or counting that as an assist. That's always been like home cooking from the home stats guy. Yeah. And then, what do you know? Every triple double this guy's ever had has been at home,
Fair.
But I don't know. There's something to it, but it's weird when people have it leveraged in contracts, because then it's like, ugh.
And like, I don't know that if that is a thing,
but you have to be close enough.
In my head, I would imagine that at least a few people who are that, and like, would anything other than putting be a like incentivized stat?
Probably not. No,
because it's like fairway hits. Oh, I hit all these fairways.
Average driving distance or something.
I can see a couple, like green and regulation is probably worthy and stuff like that. But I think more than anything, now that we've talked about it for a minute, outside of the C1X, it's probably just leverage for players to come back to the contract too. I'm the best fairway hitter in the country. I want $500 more this year. And
then the manufacturer says, well, then why are you averaging 65th?
Because I can't putt. That's Marweed's stat, remember?
It's like, but you can sell my putter. Really, you should be able to move putters for me. Yeah. So the other thing I'm curious about, I personally haven't looked into the new rules around everyone must scorekeep. So let's say we all decided we're going to keep score on our phone. And this is a common thing already where someone's phone dies in the middle of the round, because your battery drains quickly when you're keeping score, because it's, sending and receiving all the time. If my phone dies on hole 6, and then the 3 of you keep score for the rest of the round, am I penalized? Or do I got to get out paper? And it's like, if people aren't prepared, like, I'm curious what the consequences are going to be. And will we see that at, like, either a high level local tournament where it's like
Oh no,
you're in a dogfight, and then where every other card, if someone doesn't scorekeep, everyone's just like, yeah, whatever, we'll submit it. It's no big deal. We'll just say you had a paper one. But like at a big meaningful tournament, someone's like, well, Max actually wasn't keeping score, and now we're going to playoff for it.
I
could be
think,
wild.
I think you're technically required to submit your paper scorecards like as your
right.
But I mean, there's going to be tournament directors in a C tier
that don't want the paper cards.
Exactly, like that happens, and it's like, hey, this happened. Like, can we get away with this? They're going to be like, yeah.
They'll take the paper card and they'll be like, I'll double check it, and then it gets filed away. Because if you have 2 or 3 electronic ones that match, I mean, that's been good enough up until now.
Exactly.
So.
I think it's more a social thing than anything, because like everyone has scorekeeper chicken on the first tee. Like, my phone's dead. I don't like keeping score. I did it last run, whatever. It's just like, don't care. Everybody's doing it. Yeah. Take that part out of it.
I do like that part and people on the Pro Tour have even said, oh, I've never taken score, so I'm not doing it.
Really?
Nicola Castro
has never taken score.
Wow. When I played with him one time, can't remember where, but we were just like, all that, who's going to take score? And he's like, oh, I've never taken it, I'm not going to do it.
Wow.
And it's just like, should that not be more incentive for you to do it?
Do it for the first time after 25 years?
Well, then you definitely owe the rest of us, because I've done it before. It's your turn.
Yeah. It's like the classic, like, oh, I did it yesterday, or I did it the round before, or...
It's a more viable excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never done it.
Or if someone said, like, I can't count, you'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Don't give Nico ideas, man. We ratted him on his first excuse.
Wow, yeah, that's interesting. I like keeping score, personally. One, I think partly because, like, I hate... I don't mind when someone takes a lot of time on a shot, like on a particular shot, when they're, like, trying to figure out shots. But the lollygagging between holes, and so if someone else is keeping score and we get to the next hole, and if they have the box and they're the scorekeeper, and they sit down, it drives me crazy. Yeah. Every second that it takes them to get their phone out to get score is like killing me inside.
Yeah.
Because, like,
I feel that.
It's like, first of all, you gotta throw first, and we have to wait for you to keep score, like...
And then the next group ends up coming up.
What are we doing here, So I like to keep score just because, like... I know on the way to the next hole, I'm asking what everyone got, and it's done, and we can, keep the pace of play.
I wonder if it will be a pace of play issue, where now everybody has to get into a huddle, compare everybody's scores.
It could be gnarly. Because now everyone's got to get their phone out. It will slow things down.
Yes, and it will slow things down, but
it will force people to get...
think it will... Like, I think people will get used to it. Because, like, in a real way, like, what I would do is I would go walk to the next tee box, and...
You'd be done by the time you got there.
Yeah, everyone's saying what their score is on the way, and someone has their phone out, and they're recording.
But it's like, somebody's going to the bathroom between the hole. Oh, I gotta go to my car, or there's always those kind of weird things you do during the walk to the next hole where, sure,
and not everyone's as organized.
Yeah.
Right? Well, if you think about what I was just saying about how I like to do it because I believe that I will be on it and I don't trust the lollygagger, right? Well, now everyone's keeping score. And, like, if before the folks who are known for taking lots of time, who weren't keeping score before...
Yeah. Are now forced to.
Yeah, now you're at the lowest common denominator.
Did we just make the slowest player in the history of the game, making Nico take scores, knowing he's never taken scores and he's already the slowest? Oh no!
Buckle up.
Now I think his card mates will just be like, "You want to give me your phone, and I'll keep score for you and me the whole round."
Yeah.
God, it might happen.
And, like, I'm sure it will be different on, like, Pro Tour level, C tier level of, like, also just the, like you said.
Yeah.
They're probably going to let it slide in most cases, but in those, like, what do they do? Like, what is the rule?
I could really see it mattering, because I think at the Pro Tour level, people... are professional,
Yeah,
and
care
they
enough to-
they won't risk it because they know the risks of getting called on things. I think it's gonna be that middle level,
Yeah.
like an MPO B tier or advanced
one.
card in an A tier, where it's like everyone's turned stuff in, and then someone's like, well, actually, he didn't keep score. Like I see that happening, and it's like, well, no one's ever cared before. It'll be interesting.
It'll be really interesting.
I'm gonna try it. A win's a win.
Yeah.
Well, I think like the first month will be tough, but once the growing pains are over and people get into like a new routine on course, it shouldn't be such a problem. But to your point about the rules part of it, they changed how the incorrect scoring penalty works
Right.
around it, and I can't remember the language, so maybe I should look it up or somebody should.
You don't get, so if you keep my score incorrect, I don't get penalized.
You don't get stroked, but you used to.
As long as my card is correct, for me, I'm not penalized. So you keeping my score wrong, because that's happened. Like we've seen people lose money.
I don't know if I've told this story on the podcast, but European Open 2022, I think.
Okay.
Jeremy Colling, who's the guy that missed the cut? Literally missed the cut because there was I won't say his name on the podcast, but a Swedish person who was young.
Linus, yeah.
Not Linus.
Okay. We'll keep guessing.
It's the only young person from Sweden that you know.
He also had a worse day than this. I can't remember if it was the same day or not. Anyways, he was taking scores, was playing very poorly, got everybody's score except for his own wrong. Handed it in, didn't show anybody, didn't tell anybody. And I mean, and in some ways, it is everybody's responsibility to be like, where's the scorecard? Let me make sure that everything's right.
Yeah.
Like you do have to come together and make sure everything's right. So a little bit of wrong on both sides, but he pieced out, sent in the scorecard at a major. It was, so moving day, round 3. And I can't remember the other American, but he literally missed the cut with his two-shot penalty. And
didn't Germ get his reverse, though?
He got all of it reversed.
Yeah, I thought I remembered that. Yeah.
But I was in the scoring. They had like a little, it was actually really sweet. It was like a scoring, not a tent, but like a
area.
Cubicle.
Yeah.
With live going on. And I remember sitting there and Germ like runs in screaming at the score because it was like all Udisc guys in there. And it was just like, what happened? Because he was just screaming, saying, there's no way this should happen. Da, 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 da.
Well, the Udisc at that point is also irrelevant, right? So if Germ was following on Udisc and it was correct on Udisc, that doesn't even matter.
Than what he was.
Because it's only the PDGA score that mattered.
Only written scorecards. Anyways, it got reversed in the end, but crazy. And I can't remember if it was the same day, but it was a long drive competition, European Open. This guy slips while, like, mid pullback.
Oh, I saw
Let's
that.
go.
Twice. He hit the car on hole 1.
Oh, yeah, so that was another thing.
And then he hit the gallery.
There's a Mando on hole 1, apparently, because it was like that.
Archway thing.
Yeah, archway. Hits the brand new
Ford
Mustang that's parked there. Loud. And then, in this distance competition, slips, throws it straight into the crowd at probably sternum height. And I don't know how this person
is that the best height? That might be the best height.
But that's throat high on child and small female.
But I feel like there was one guy who literally ducks right before it comes. And it's that could have been real bad. But this was all in either a span of 2 days or the same day.
It's a rough day.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
It's good for sponsorship though, right? Because it's exposure, right?
Yeah.
So
hey, it got a lot of views. But yeah.
I'd love to put my first tangent of the podcast in, and I want a rules story from everybody. If you had a rules moment where you just got mangled or something weird happened, and I can start where we played BC Provincials in Kamloops in 2018, I want to say. I was a fresh-faced amateur, and if you've ever played Rose Hill, there's like 6 pin positions and 4 tee pads for like every hole.
Yeah.
And I was playing blind, and most of my group was playing blind as well. We come to a hole which has 4 tee pads. One of them is new and not labeled on the sign at the time or something like that. So we played 180 feet longer than we had to. Told the TD as fresh-faced MA2 players what happened. And
all
it
got
was
stroked.
+2, +2, +2, +2 to everybody.
misplay.
We all got stroked for misplay for playing a way harder hole than everybody else.
Yeah. Well, like that was kind of like our practice round at Rose Hill. Did we play the practice round together?
Didn't we play?
Anyways, hole 9, the short par 4.
Yeah.
We were playing. I thought it was a better hole from there, but it ended up being some.
Was that the one beside the tennis courts with the keyhole?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
you practiced it in no wind, which was good preparation for the next day.
That too. Well, I mean, I actually didn't have a wind, so that's why my round was 1060 rated.
It was good prep for Jesse.
But because I think I eagled it that round. Anyways, I just I can't remember if it was like a garbage bag that was over it because
After.
Yeah. And I was
Halfway
just
through.
All right, cool.
And the reason I know is because I droned the course with the wrong hole because that's the way the hole was always played, like the year before.
And it was like a better.
It was
a longer.
Yeah, it's like 80 feet longer.
It's the one
that's straighter.
It's the one that Stu went for it. Went for the green and got it.
So they didn't play that version?
Oh,
in the tournament?
I don't think that's what we're talking about.
No, it is.
I thought Stu went for the one that was like the island type maneuver. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, with the tennis court.
It's a keyhole.
Oh, I thought the one just before that, or 2 before that, never mind, was also in a different position. That was the one that runs with the power lines along the backside of the tennis court.
Right.
Never mind.
Yeah. So and it's just the things like that where so easily you can play it wrong because it wasn't set up properly or wasn't
clearly defined.
Yeah. Very obviously not the right tee pad. And it was just weird because I was like, I liked the other hole better. I was like, why are we playing from this tee box? But yeah.
Yeah, tournament staff work hard to get events ready right up until the last minute. Sometimes that's rough, right? If it's a serious tournament, like we saw that at Worlds, obviously that's got to be the most famous one of the Utah Worlds that James Conrad, people say that James Conrad bailed out that Worlds by making everyone forget some of the logistical nightmares that were going on, right? It'll just be the
holy shot.
Yeah, that'll be known as that Worlds, not as the Worlds that they painted OB the night before. And people got out to the Loggains course and it's just like, apparently there's OB here.
Yeah.
We had a week of practice and this wasn't OB. We even they had an event, like a big event,
before,
like the weekend before it wasn't OB. And then, that's a rough look.
And there is a lot to do, but those kind of things you can't leave to the last minute. And it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. Mm-hmm. And it was the same, I think it was Open at Austin last year. And I think if the course was set up when everybody played it for the first time, I think people would like that course a lot better. Mm-hmm. But I remember the Jomez practice round, they were ripping on it because there's no ad walls, no flags, no OB lines really up. And it's just you're kind of just playing a ball golf course without knowing, and there's just no visual representation of what the hole is supposed to look like. And obviously that's not fun because you're just I'm just going to throw this shot. Hopefully it's good.
It's different when it happens. If you do this at a Rusty Ratings in Golden, right? The morning of the tournament, you go out and paint some OB on hole 1. And then during the players meeting, everyone's there. All 30 players are there together, right? And then you say, hey, just a heads up, we painted a line behind hole 1. Everyone's like, oh, okay, whatever. It's totally acceptable, right? But at Worlds, or even at a bigger AIDS here where you have traveling players.
There's actually a good example of this last year at Cranbrook tournament. Remember how we started the tournament and it was that side slope was still icy on
Where?
hole 3 at
Oh,
college.
hole 3. Yeah.
And so it was like, I kind of let everyone know in the players email being like, hey, we're thinking about doing this. Of course, I hadn't been there yet because I was coming from here.
Yep.
And so then it was 2 nights before. I was like, guys, we might put OB on hole 3 just so everyone knows. And then it was just kind of like we finalized the decision on the Friday before the tournament.
Yeah.
And then it's a lot of like, there's so many people on the Pro Tour who don't read anything. They don't check their emails. They don't do the due diligence that you should to prepare for an event.
Or go to a players meeting.
Exactly. So it's like, how do you relay that information and how do you get it through to the players in a way that everybody feels like they've been justly treated?
Yeah.
I don't have any sympathy for anybody that doesn't read.
Yeah, same. But if you read something and then it changes,
Yeah,
Then
that's another problem.
Very big.
and like I said, like it's easy to disseminate that information at a players meeting where everyone's attending, but most bigger tournaments aren't run that way.
No.
So it's usually like you got a caddy book a month before the event.
Yeah.
Right? At events. Lots of the events are run really well nowadays. Like lots, which is amazing considering for the most part, people are still running events because they love it.
Yeah.
Like we get by because people mostly want to sacrifice their lives for the good of the sport.
Yeah, to have a good weekend.
And they do a way better job than I would.
Yeah. And I mean, it kind of, I mean, we've probably talked about it on 4 or 5 podcasts now, but Dennis and Clearwater, it's just like, I wonder if, and like you can get into like how many bids were there, what was the competition, but because he just ran a really good tournament and it was a B tier last year. And I mean, he said himself that he was way understaffed and everybody was just putting everything they had into it. And like, it was a great finished product. Like everybody got the job done for that level. And now they're hosting nationals. So it's like, there is that, you do a good job and you get rewarded. Like everybody's going to remember a well-run tournament, no matter how big it is.
Yep.
So the official rules are for A tiers, the course has to be in tournament format for practice 1 day prior. Elite Series is 3 day prior. Other majors 3 days. Worlds is 4. And then all B, C, and league nights are no requirement. Just so
Now you get to stroke the
night
TD.
before. Wow.
yeah.
It's not done.
You've been disqualified.
No.
Yeah, it'd be funny if people like you get to like cancel out one of your
Free stroke.
penalties.
You got to collect your free stroke voucher because the TD.
You can choose if you want your ratings to count or not.
Oh, there you go.
Let's just say your shoulder hurts. Go home.
Yeah. I was thinking when we were talking about the scorecard thing and like the seriousness of players, it's funny how some people are either wired to read instructions and take things seriously at every level, whether or not they're playing a C tier or at Worlds, or they're not. Like you would think, because some people will be judgmental and they'll say, "You're on the Pro Tour, how could you not ... right? But it's like, I don't know. I think people either are meticulous people or they're not meticulous, or they're somewhere on that spectrum of whatever happens, happens. And a lot of pro disc golfers were guys that, lived in their vans and they weren't the meticulous type over the years. That's definitely changing. We see a lot more serious people nowadays. But even on the PGA Tour, I think it was just this past weekend that Jordan Spieth turned in an incorrect scorecard, not on purpose, just made a mistake, got disqualified from an event that could have paid him like $1.2 million.
Yeah.
And he was going to be in the mix, and he's just out, and it's like, yeah, whoops. That's wild.
I don't know if it was this year or last year, but another like Rory McIlroy, like one of the best players in the world.
Yeah.
Just like played a free drop thing wrong.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Oh yeah,
And
it was like he thought it was a designated area, but it
Drop
wasn't
zone.
or something.
Yeah.
And
that's even weird because I think PGA, it's like you're consulting a rules official for like everything.
Yeah.
So like the fact that there wasn't somebody there, and like I don't know, is it just not their just like jurisdiction of saying, oh, you're doing that wrong, or is he like just not allowed to tell him? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm usually in that process, like they'll say, I need an official.
Yeah.
And if it's the final pairing on Sunday at a major, the official's there already.
Kind of the
But
same as
some-
disc golf, where like
if you
the
watch a
TD
lot of-
is following the lead card and okay.
Yeah.
Jeff Spring.
If you're
what do we
watching
do
live
here?
coverage, Jeff Spring's walking there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where, the early morning tee time, they're probably not.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the luxury.
But you see that sometimes if you're watching like the first round of golf. I don't watch as much as I used to, but it would be like someone's in the lead and there's no, and they ask for a marshal, and the camera has to go and show other stuff because it's a while.
They have
like
to bring something.
yeah, and the marshal comes by in the cart and it's like, yeah, you get a club length off that sprinkler head or whatever it is,
Yeah,
They're pretty spoiled in golf. Like,
oh, for sure.
if there's a sprinkler head anywhere nearby, they can take relief and take a drop out of any kind of bad lie. It's like, you see the stuff that disc golfers have to play from. We really don't have a lot of options.
Yeah, I'm curious because of the rainfall that was during the All-Star event,
Mm-hmm.
and it sounds like it has dried up quite a bit on the course because they've had some sunshine now. But like you said, I mean, on some of those holes, it's just like mud and like just standing water, and it's like I just hate that awkwardness too. It's like, oh, I landed in this puddle. Oh, TD didn't say this is casual relief, because that happened to me. Well, where was it? DDO, and it was just like a puddle where it's like, I don't want to step in this puddle. I'm gonna take a foot relief from it, and somebody in my card was like, TD didn't say that. You got to step in the puddle.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, we had that. Ice Bowl, Raptors Knoll, 2 or 3 years ago. I think I told you because of the gross water situation on that hole, but it's hole 4, playing out there. Guy hits a first tree in the gap and then kicks into 2 feet of Raptors Knoll dumpster slime water, and then proceeds to try and take his lie in front of the puddle. And I was like, you can't. I said, you
That's
can't.
never a thing.
I said, you can never get close to the target. And then he tries to take it from the backside of the puddle. And by puddle, I mean it's a lake the size of your basement here, Andre. And I was like,
Casual lake.
it wasn't ever designated casual. And I said, you're going to take the strokes for that? Because he would be moving his lie back and taking a penalty for the relief.
Interesting.
And he ended up rolling his pants up past his knees and throwing from inside of 2 feet of water to save the stroke in the final round. But it's interesting.
So casual water has to be designated?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I think it does.
But so like a TD can say
All
if there's any
puddles.
like all standing water, but there has to be.
It has to be said. And
Otherwise, you're deciding it's not water, or water is OB. It's like water is OB, or you decide it isn't water and you get in there.
Yeah.
Well, it's
We should be careful because I don't know.
Yeah.
no, I
I have
know
to
this
look these things up.
quite strongly because that's like every Big Bear. That's the only rule Maddie ever tells us. Hole 1, water in the creek is casual,
Right.
or something to that effect.
Mhm.
Just so you know that you can deal with it without
But
having
then,
to get
so
your
if there's part of that creek, or like somehow you get back to that creek on another hole, it's like, is it casual now?
Yeah,
I think he means the
says
hole 1
it's-
as the location, not
He
as
says the whole course. There's no water on the course that isn't casual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
And
right
we-
too. You
But
could
I
make
think-
it casual
I
for
think-
one hole and a penalty for the other.
I think it was kind of one of those scenarios where they were specifically saying, these puddle are like the water on this part of the course casual, but then this was on like a random tiny little puddle
Mhm.
where it's like, I'm not, the only advantage I'm gaining is that I don't have to put my foot here. Like it wasn't like it was gonna change the grip of my
Mhm.
stance or anything. It was like a standstill upshot on the par 5, and it was just like, I'm literally just saving my sock, or just I don't want to get wet.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that's like. Is it just?
I don't know. We play it as it lies.
Just
and
say,
that's like when in doubt. And I think there's probably more scenarios where we could take relief, but earlier when I said some folks are very professional, meticulous, I myself, I know the rules that you have to know all the time. It's definitely a moving target, right? And I you go through, get your certified rules so you can play A tiers or whatever, but then it's like it's easier just to play it as it lies than it is to like get the book out and really know to be certain every time, right?
I remember he was like, "Oh, we'll just play it both ways and we'll make a decision."
It's like, but then my sock's wet. It doesn't matter at that point.
And then I was just like, "All right," put my foot in the puddle and threw the upshot, parked it. I was fine. I was like, "All right," but it's just like, is it just like a?
It's like the idea here is that I don't get wet. Playing it both ways does not help me. Yeah.
It was just a funny situation.
I like that when you like spite perform well.
it's like-
Like, stomp the puddle and park the shot.
Cash it.
Just
like
totally out of
throw
spite
in
for the guy.
evil, and I'm like,
Especially because I know there used to be rules about you're not allowed to improve your lie, which is a bit of a vague
yeah.
statement or whatever, right? So like if you could have like brushed all the water out of the puddle, like you could carry a broom. We've seen Casey Hannemeyer do that.
Is
over the
dad
years.
unattached?
If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, one of the years that Casey won at Falcons Flight, he brought
on
the
coverage?
broom from the first
I
hole.
have the picture because I
Oh, yeah.
caddied with him. I carried his bag
And
so he could carry the
He
push broom.
swept every tee box
Oh,
before he
amazing.
threw off of
I
it.
feel like I've seen that on coverage.
And props to him. He had better traction because it was the year that the concrete boxes were new, and everyone was tracking mud because it'd been a bit moist, and everyone was tracking mud up onto the concrete and slipping. But not Casey Hannemeyer. He had good traction. Oh yeah, there we go. Casey with the broom. And that is in the final round lead card of an A tier. That is not a practice round broom.
Like, yeah.
Yikes.
What hole? That's like the not par 3.
Yeah, that's 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, but if you had that broom, could you just broom all the water out of the puddle and go? I think.
I don't see why not.
I don't know.
It's not a fixture of
long
the
as-
course,
as
right?
long as
It's
it's
not a
behind your
permanent
lie.
fixture
Yeah.
or a part of your lie.
I don't know. You can sweep. I don't know what you can and can't sweep. That's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
No, they
changed
actually
it.
changed the rules so
Yeah.
you can deal with your run, like your stance as well,
right.
which is
Anything.
not your run up, but your stance.
Uh-huh.
So mark the front of it, get as much puddle in your stance as possible.
You can
and
move
sweep
as
that
much
sucker
water
everywhere.
around as you want, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think they changed it back because they changed it last year to your stance, and I think they changed it back to
You're right.
your run up.
I invented a rule today, which I think is a great idea. We are playing. This is Canada. It is February, which means there's all sorts of casual water around in the form of snow. And I said I'm just going to take casual relief, and there was a dry patch under a tree
So I told him
from this. This is casual water. It's a dry water, but
of the frozen dry.
And
That's a tip
90%
for you.
of the fairway.
yeah.
So the change on the run up is a player may move casual obstacles that are on the playing surface farther from the target than the front edge of the lie. So they kind of made it more vague again, and that was essentially the explanation is this greatly broadens the area in which players may move casual obstacles. This change responds to requests from players that the rules grant the ability to clear casual obstacles from a larger area to accommodate a run-up. So that's the reasoning, but the rule is just simply farther from the target than the front edge of the lie. So it's like,
And that was to correct the rule of the people sprawling out on the ground because
Exactly.
it had to be in your stance.
And that's what I was going to talk about. I'm ratting on everybody today. Playing Big Bear with Gatsky in my group.
okay.
And yeah, we're playing like the question mark shape par 4.
Who?
You,
First par 4 or the second one?
second one.
13.
13. I'm bad with numbers. That one. And you know how you fade out into the corner? It's not great.
Yeah, it's not great.
So he's there, and there's a tree 10 feet behind him that he proceeds to start to move. I go, Greg, you can't do that. I said, the rule changed. I said, yeah, in your stance. And then he proceeded to try and do the splits to show me that it was in his stance. So it was nowhere close, and then still moved the tree and threw a shot.
did you give him a
There was a
No guy in my group said
was
they
a
weren't sure and
general-
couldn't do it.
there was a general feeling, I think, when that rule did change, that it was dumb. And collectively, the cards that I was on, someone's like, "Oh, I guess I can't move this anyway," and the other 3 people would be like, "Move it."
Yeah.
Like, no one likes this rule, which obviously that's why they changed it back.
Yeah.
It's because it's like universally, it's like we do not accept this rule. We're gonna not hurt ourselves if that's okay.
Yeah.
Because with big trees, it's a little different. I don't think anyone hated it for that reason. But like when there was like little sticks, like the size of pens and pencils that you just broom out of the way with your foot, it's like, really, I'm just not.
Not
You just want me to roll my ankle in the
Yeah.
walk up? Like, this is not the intent of this rule.
Yeah.
But I want you to roll your ankle in the walk up. And I want to talk about this one a lot because in our part of the world, like the bunkers that we have
Yeah.
are deep woods with lots of
Brush,
stuff like
yeah.
that. And I don't think it's a problem for that bunker to force you to throw a standstill in an uncomfortable situation or in a place where a run-up would give you a greater advantage for distance or otherwise. It might be unique to our area, but that is the traps that we're setting for players.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
I have a solution. Bring a bucket with the bottom cut out, stick it in, and scoop all the water out. You get your foot behind your disc dry.
Yeah, water is. I mean, a puddle of water is not an obstacle that you're moving.
I feel
Where
like,
did that come
I
from?
feel like you can
I was
still
just thinking about different
I think it was a
ways.
small enough puddle that
I think you
if
carry
you
it
go through
through.
that, I think you can just remove all of the water.
Or bring a pump. You know,
Oh yeah, sump pump.
Oh, God.
sump it out of there.
Yikes.
I don't know if you guys remember the Beaver State where it rained like crazy.
Most of them.
And then the most beautiful green in disc golf, whatever hole that is, I don't remember. I've never played there, but the mulch green, the cool Beaver State wood thing, and then the little ditch normally in front of that
Doesn't have water.
was 10 feet deep of water for that event that year. And it honestly, it looked really cool to me. And I thought if they'd played it as OB, that would have been a cool added feature to that hole because I don't know.
Played it casual.
They played it as casual. But the wild thing was when people would like roll up and into it, it was so big that if you were casual on the front edge, you had like a 10-foot putt in.
Yeah.
But if you took the relief, you're giving yourself like a 60-footer up the hill or whatever. And so people were just like, they were getting wet,
water, yeah.
like real wet. Or they felt that it was worse than if it had been OB. Because if you like, say you hit the cage and rolled into it, you take your meter from the water and then you tap it in. But then the worst thing was some people were right on the edge of the water. So they could take a mark on dry land, but they didn't have room to stand. So then, it's like, well, can I not take a meter from this? Because I saw some people, I think their instinct was to take a meter off of it. But it's like, no, that's casual. You can't take your meter. And it's like,
Well, how do I do?
you can take 15 meters if you'd like backwards, but you can't take a meter forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a pretty unique scenario, but it is like, I'm sure they had to have addressed that in a way. But what is the solution that makes it fair?
I mean, it's fair in that it's the same for everyone, always. That's always the case, right? If it's windy, it's windy for all of us, whatever the deal
Just
is.
unfortunate that it could just be a random thing. It's like, oh, I missed my putt. It stayed there. Buddy misses his putt, rolls us into the water, and now he's got a 70-footer for par instead of a 10.
Just got to make it.
Yeah.
Just make them all.
It's kind of like Mercy OB, like we've put on some holes.
Yes.
Right? Make that OB so that roll-away situation gives you the tap-in for the stroke and doesn't put you back there making 60-footers that keep rolling into the water over and over again.
Yeah.
There
And
was a lot of that in Clearwater where you won on the ski hill course where the edge would be OB and people were like, is that really necessary? It's like double punishment.
yeah.
And it's like, no, actually, it's definitely saving you from way worse punishment.
Yeah.
Like,
And those, in the most cases, like I think hole 8 was a special scenario where, you're going to your death if you're following your disc down there.
yeah.
But, and it's the same, comes to my head, hole 12 at Northwood Black, the crazy par 5 that nobody plays.
Yeah.
There's the
OB left up as you get closer to the basket.
When I played it wasn't OB.
Oh.
And it's like, just a crazy idea to make that not OB, because you're forcing people to play from the bottom of a ravine to go and find your disc, where if it was OB, you'll just say, yeah, it crossed out here, take the penalty. Find your disc,
rethrow
which is
from previous
impossible.
lie.
And then, so it's like, I do agree with it for the most part, those kind of OBs, where it's just like, you're just saving time, saving the awkwardness, or having to step in a puddle of casual water rather than taking an OB, or
I do wrestle with it as like a course designer, or even I mean every disc golfer identifies as a course designer, even if they're not. But it's like the fact that we have to like sometimes sacrifice what would be ideal for design and play in order to have pace of play.
Yeah,
it's like I hate it because that hole 12 at Northwood, it's like that is already for sure the worst backup on tour. But in the eyes of a lot of people, It's an awesome hole.
Yeah.
It might be.
Stroke
Some people
separation.
think it is the best hole on tour.
Same as BC Open when they decided hole 5 and 14 were, was it 14? Anyways,
The blue tees.
BC Open
first par
at-
5
Oh,
Raptors.
exactly.
It's like-
yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think it was just an oversight on the first par 5 where I think if we played the golds, it wouldn't have been as
It wouldn't have been any
backup,
slower
'cause then
either.
Less people are going for it.
Yeah, and
Like,
pushing it
see,
further.
I didn't
yeah.
see anybody not go for it from the blue.
Yeah.
But I just like the what is it? Is it 14? After the little
Yeah.
short island.
The 90-degree right turn with the Mando,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
It's just like it's one of the like better.
It's the best
par
hole in the
fours,
course, I think.
Where it's just like it's gonna get a ton of stroke
Mhm.
separation, and like it's just a tough tee shot where play from the blue and it's like just a chop or like a
Mhm.
jump putt.
And if you were to get the birdie on it, you know,
You're a king.
Hot
it's
dog.
about as good as winning a tournament.
Yeah.
You know, when you get a birdie on that from the golds, it's a absolute top tier pro level par 4.
Yeah, but so like where is it? Because I'm sure it's
Because you also you don't want to wait 40 minutes on a
Yeah.
tee box.
Yeah.
It's like I want to play that awesome hole, but I don't want to wait 40 minutes on a tee box. So it sucks. It's like you're kind of mad either way.
Yeah.
My question to that is, like I said, I don't think 5 is going to slow things down by playing from gold. And does that actually make that hole faster from playing from the bottom of the hill?
Oh, 5, yeah. No,
Like,
5 seemed unnecessary. to me.
5 is unnecessary for sure. I don't care
Mm-hmm.
who defends that; they're wrong. But 14, playing from the blues versus gold. What over the grand scheme of that tournament? How much do you think that made it faster with
I
all the
think
other
a
issues?
lot.
Well, it's just
I
because
would
like
say a
from the
lot.
blue, you're not going to get those crazy shanks or like first availables,
Yeah.
and then you're playing.
It's an
3
MA2 level
shots
side
to-
iron off the tee there.
Yeah. Like,
But the right side's got a Mando, so if you shank it with any sort of velocity, you're coming back to the middle anyway. That's not
But,
really a
like,
pace of play issue.
I mean,
But
I
you
could
don't
see
have the
somebody, like,
ceiling.
I think it's harder.
I don't
Averages-
recall having a backup on that hole this year. And
I-
in years past, I remember it was like
4 cards.
I should have brought more supplies.
Yeah.
So
We are
maybe
gonna
my
be here
experience
a
is
long
skewed
time.
because at Blues we had a 3-card backup
Oh,
there.
really?
And I had a 1-card backup playing golds in previous year.
Yeah.
That could be just fluke, but
Wow.
I do think I remember. Oh, there's still a backup here. So why did we? Like
Oh,
not a
interesting.
crazy backup, but enough
Yeah.
of a backup to think about.
The shot, the tee shot, was significantly easier, but also significantly less interesting
Yeah.
and like boring. It's like, okay, I'll pitch a forehand around the corner, and you know.
Yeah.
Whereas
And
Did
that's-
you birdie?
Yeah, I did actually. That was my first. I had a rough round that first round, and then got to that hole, pitched a forehand around, and then kind of botched my upshot and left it. People love this, right? The round recap.
I think so.
I know when someone else
Especially
is
on audio.
recapping
Right?
around. Yeah, when someone's recapping around to you at the end of the tournament, this is everyone all the time, right? You're just like, oh my gosh. But then when it's your turn to do it, it's like, but wait till you hear what I did. Whatever I did is really interesting.
It's like
in
talking
my
about your
head.
fantasy football team.
Yeah.
No one else cares.
Wait till you hear what happened in my fantasy. We'll get to that next. So, no, but I left it low, low on the hill and left, like probably 90 feet. Any of my card mates listening are gonna maybe take issue with this, but
Jet.
I threw understable putter air bounce under the
Oh,
branches and like zinged it up and in for like might have been my first birdie of the round. I don't remember, but I'd been having a rough one. It was like, whew, suddenly I had a good day going.
But to bring it back to Canadian disc golf, I think I like just that hole in particular from the blue just reminds me of so many par 4s in Canada, where it's just like
Right.
you're just making it boring by making us play this little chip shot here and
Mhm.
then throwing a significant
Yeah.
shot. And like there is scenarios where like you're not just throwing distance driver on every par 4 where it is more of a placement shot. But when it's like a jump putt or like just chop side arm, where it's like it's not really a shot. It's just like do whatever to get here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so short and
If,
Not-
and I just for anyone that's listening is like, what are these guys talking about? Head over to our YouTube channel, watch BC Open. You can watch Max play these holes that we're talking about.
Yep.
I wanna
Did you guys play the long tee and skins? on
Surely.
12th
I think
or 14th.
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the
Because
I
that
got
gold
the
tee
steam on
is
that one.
it is an awesome hole, and like if you get the chance to go and play it, you would never question what tee you're playing from. But yeah, it's a thing for us in our Canadian scene where it's like, do we design for the average rating of this MPO field? You know, because I think most of the folks that are playing MPO, obviously they're not actually professional disc golfers. They aren't doing it for the profession, with maybe 2 exceptions. And the rest of folks are kind of having it's like a guy's trip to, you know, in golf you might equate it to like, hey, we're going to get to go play Bethpage Black where the US Open was played, right? And maybe I want to try out playing these holes that I saw the pros play. But there's no expectation that you're going to make it look good
And
or that it makes sense for you to play it.
Or a lot of people like Matt was talking about this the other, I can't remember when, but where he's like, yeah, I might play up to NPO just so I can play these courses rather than play where I should be playing and
Absolutely.
play less interesting courses. So like I would imagine a pretty significant part of it NPO in most tournaments in Canada is that I have no business playing the NPO. I'm probably going to get last, but I'm going to have a better time.
You'll get to play with MPO players on MPO layouts. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing on the bigger events. Sometimes the like marquee course that you're going for, either like MA1, which in the States is 1,000 rated players nowadays,
Yeah.
might not even step foot on that course, let alone play different tee boxes.
Yeah.
And that's half the reason you're going to some of these events. And you're right, it's maybe a bit of a boys trip, but there's also like a bit of culture difference as well, and that's why I'm there. MA1 is the most petty division in disc golf. It's where all the rules get called on everybody. Everybody thinks they're going to be MPO next year because they're going to win this event and whatever. And the guys that have been playing MPO and finishing in the bottom half are like, yeah, I might get money for this instead of a plastic trophy and 3 frisbees I'll never throw ever
I might
again.
get my beer paid for tonight.
Right? And that has a lot more appeal to people that have been playing for 10 years. Like, I don't need another Players Pack disc as someone that was going to be like a go-to Am Worlds MA1 990 player.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
Yeah.
Well,
so
especially if you get sponsored and you have others, like, you know, you're obligated to throw their discs, or, you know, you're shooting to get a sponsorship, and so you're throwing those discs anyways. You know,
you end up being Noah. You run the online auction page because you are selling everything you ever won.
And I'm getting Max's hand-me-downs just before we started the pod. I'm getting some hand-me-downs from off-brand stuff that Max can't throw that he thought, maybe you can use this.
I've heard you putt with Wizards.
It's great.
Every now and then.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of like there's always a place for amateur divisions. But like one thing that I thought about the Canadian disc golf scene is where like you do want tournaments to like in the future just like be there for the next generation. And if everybody's just playing amateur, do those MPO purses get to a point where like, I mean, Casey Hannemeyer plays the majority of his tournaments in Canada. Or has in a lot of years and has done very well. And like, sure, he's winning a lot of those, which helps him doing well for the year. But you would want to see that extended to, okay, now Casey and two or like the top 3 or top 5 MPO players playing in Canada, touring in Canada, being able to make it as like full-time, if like, or even just making it worth, I'm dedicating my summer to disc golf. I want to play all the tournaments and not go bankrupt. So it's like, does that, like, because there's obviously a transition period of like, there aren't enough good enough MPO players to fill out an MPO field at a tournament. Sure, but if there isn't that number, even if they aren't good enough, does that field just go down to 10 people? And then those people kind of just, well, it's not worth it. Like I can't play MPO and
for the design and layout choice too, right? Then it's like, do you design for 960 because that's the average rating of the MPO field, or you design for 1040? Because I've never been 1,000 rated before. I've peaked out at 999 or 998, but I want to play layouts that are designed for 1030. Right? I've never been that player, but that's what I want to play. And I think in the MPO field, you see that a lot where it's like people have the capability of throwing all the top tier shots upon occasion.
Yeah.
But they aren't likely to right now. Yeah. So for flow of a tournament, I think tournament directors have to make a business decision, and it sucks.
Yeah.
But
I mean, a lot of this does come down to course design, and especially initial course design.
mm-hmm.
And as you guys know, we like to go to DiscGolfPark for our course
That's
design.
right.
Huge shout out to DiscGolfPark for sponsoring this podcast and all our podcasts. DiscGolfPark is a unique disc golf course concept developed in Finland in 2005. It is based on the idea of building sports facilities in an environmentally friendly way. DiscGolfPark provides great experiences for players of all skill levels, from beginners to professionals. Our main ideology is to introduce disc golf to new audiences. There are several options to suit any kind of course, and all official disc golf parks include professional and safe course design, Disc Golf Park Pro targets, tee pads and tee signs, and an info board to welcome players to your course. Disc Golf Park World concept consists of multiple courses designed for different types of players. Multi-golf is a new fun activity for the whole family, and in multi-golf, 3 forms of golf are played: foot golf, disc golf, and park-style pitch and putt. School Disc Golf Park offers students a new and exciting form of exercise for the physical education classes. A course suitable for schools can be designed even in a small area, for instance, a schoolyard. Furthermore, the costs of school disc golf park are lower than those of regular disc golf parks. We also offer private and group lessons or clinics. For more information, check out the website at discgolfpark.com and request a quote today. I think that's about all we have time for today. This was awesome. I hope we can do it again. We didn't really get to know Benny Buckets over here, but I'm sure you'd be on the podcast much more. For those that don't know, you've probably recognized his voice from some of the commentary and stuff. So awesome to have you up.
I'll be back. It's not that far of a flight. Now that you guys are flying us in, I'm happy to do it anytime.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have anything you want to...
I was hoping to talk about my fantasy team, my fantasy football team, but
that's another podcast.
Okay. If we ever do, I was hoping we could get into fantasy disc golf, and I was going to push for a keeper league, and just go Eliezer middling right off the bat.
There you go.
Most exciting thing I'm looking forward to this season.
It's going to be awesome. I'm excited.
Pro Tour kicks off this season. We somehow didn't get to talk about that. I'm looking forward to that. I play a lot of chess. I'm hoping to see a lot of chess involved somehow. I don't know how that's going to happen.
Strategy.
I have seen some chess pieces on the course. Like a little...
The koozies or pawns and
yeah.
stuff, yeah.
You birdie hole, you get the piece.
Yeah.
I think.
Hopefully.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
I'm sure the winner gets it.
Yeah, well, you're welcome anytime. Anytime you can make the flight. So
okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Max, how much longer do we have it for?
This might be the last in-person pod.
All right.
So, yeah.
Cool.
I think Wednesday sounds like a good day for departure.
All right. Well, again, it was awesome to have you for the off-season. We're obviously going to get you on whenever we can. So.
Of course.
Straight to Texas for you?
Straight to Texas. Waco. I mean, straight to the Discmania warehouse and then straight to Texas.
Okay. Got to get stocked up.
Got to get stocked up.
That's cool.
Cool. Well, we don't have Matt to take us out, so thanks for listening, and enjoy getting...
See you in the Discord.
See you in the Discord.
We'll keep the conversation going.
Join, hit up the YouTube. Discord's on there. Patreon.com/ParkPro. Do all that stuff. Later. Get buckets.
Buckets.